Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Connection Corner. I'm Barb Nangle. I'm the Community Manager at Known, and I'm really excited to be here today. In a few moments, I'm going to introduce you to our guests today, Danielle and Genora, who are two of the KNOWNpreneurs in the KNOWNpreneurs Growth Lab, which I'll be talking about in just a moment. But before I get into that, I want to say a little bit about Known. It's a dynamic co-working community to connect entrepreneurs across their fields of expertise, endeavors, and experiences. And we started as a co-working place in downtown New Haven, and we're still the only co-working place in downtown New Haven. And we've expanded into a multifaceted entrepreneur support organization. As a reminder, Known Co-working has hourly, daily, and monthly plans for dedicated desks, offices, and coworkers, as well as conference rooms and Zoom rooms available for rent. If you'd like to know more about the space, feel free to send me an email. I can be reached at barb@knowncoworking.com. You can also check us out on our website, which is nhvknown.com, or you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Known Co-working and DM us there. One of the ways that we support entrepreneurs is through our virtual program. So this one is called the Connection Corner, as you know, and then we also have Digital Media Sync. You can watch the replays for free of all of our episodes on our website under Known Live. Digital Media Sync is hosted by Julia Gambale. She is the social media maven of Agents of Branding, and it's your window to the digital world. She does all kinds of workshops on all kinds of digital tools. And among other things, right now, Julia also happens to be the entrepreneur in residence at the New Haven Free Public Library, and she's the mentor of one of the women that's on the show today. This show, Connection Corner, is a place for entrepreneurs, creators, thinkers, and innovators to either profile their businesses or to share how they support entrepreneurs in the greater New Haven ecosystem. If you or anyone you would like to be on this show or on Digital Media Sync, go ahead and send me an email. Again, it's barb@knowncoworking.com. Our purpose as Known Co-working in the physical and virtual spaces is to make connections between people. My job as the community manager is specifically that. I connect people with the people, organizations, and resources they want and need to meet. We're here to help you get connected, inspired, and known. And speaking of getting known, toward that end, I host 2 networking events every single week with Known. On Mondays from 4 to 5, I host virtual networking. You can find the link under events on our website, nhvknown.com. And then in person, every Friday from 3 to 5 at Known Co-working, I also host a networking happy hour. And we're at 139 Orange Street in downtown New Haven and on the 4th floor. So I hope to see you there sometime. And without further ado, I'm going to start by bringing on Danielle, who's going to tell us about her business. All right, Danielle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Barb.
And I'm going to leave this to Danielle, and she's going to tell you about Inner You Clinical Services. Take it away.
Thank you, Barb. So I'm Danielle Turner. I am a licensed clinical social worker, transformational self-care coach, best-selling author, and podcast host. I am the CEO of Inner You Clinical Services, where I provide individual therapy to adults, mental health therapy to adults in the Bloomfield, Connecticut area. I am also best-selling author as part of an anthology, Blessed Not Broken, Volume 4, The Power of Letting Go. And I've also created the Ultimate Inner You Self-Care Workbook as well to help you jumpstart your self-care journey in 60 days. I'm also a podcast host of the Purple Butterfly Podcast. And I started to also do self-care coaching in 2021 as well. And so with those services, I do provide individual one-on-one self-care coaching as well as group self-care coaching. Those services are self-paid. Therapy services can be paid through medical insurance. And one of the things right now that's kind of like my baby is my podcast. So the Purple Butterfly Podcast is a podcast, weekly podcast where I have guests on and we just talk about overall mental health, wellness, and of course, self-care. Self-care is kind of my vibe. It's my thing. And And my mission is to really help individuals, and specifically women, to know the value of self-care and how impactful it can be in your life, as well as being able to use self-care to challenge mental health issues that we go through. I also had some mental health issues, and that was one of the reasons why I started NOU Clinical Services, because I wanted a place where women and men as well could come and feel heard and validated and supported, you know, to really heal their inner self, and learn to use the tools to overcome mental health challenges. And then, because for me, self-care was so very important, I decided that I wanted to go into the realm of actually coaching others to have a sustainable and achievable self-care plan, and develop some self-care skills for themselves. So that's pretty much what I do. But again, like I said, right now, my baby is the podcast, getting the Purple Butterfly podcast. So I'm really promoting that and really wanting individuals to come listen. It's a great listening experience, just to get some tips and some tools and some tricks on self-care and just overall wellness and, you know, various areas of life. So.
Wonderful. So what's really cool is this weekend, I'm going to be a guest on Danielle's podcast. So I'm also a longtime podcaster. So this is great. And I think you know this about me, but I'm in 12-step recovery. And I think for me, what I've learned, I think really recovery is all about learning how to take good care of yourself, how to treat yourself as if you're beloved. And I have a very strong self-care routine every morning and every night. So I'm with you on that.
Yes.
So do you have a particular niche client that you just absolutely love to work with and connect with, or do you serve really just anybody?
So my ideal client, Barb, is working women who may have older children, or children are out of the home, professionals who are just busy, you know, entrepreneurs doing 100 gazillion things an hour. And feel like they don't have the time to really take care of themselves. So that's really my ideal client, because even though we may be extremely busy, there's always ways to incorporate some self-care throughout your day. I just don't believe that we really always know how to do that. So
right. I love it. Okay, so people who think they're too busy for self-care, that's your ideal client. Okay, good to know. That's really helpful to know that. I love that. Yeah, because people say that all the time. I don't have time for that. And the thing is, if you don't have time, you're going to burn out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that. An Uber ride is an expensive, ambulance is a very expensive Uber ride. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Be able to take care of yourself, because your body will just shut you down if you don't.
Right. Exactly. And I like the thing the people in the airplane say, you know, if you're caring for someone else and the oxygen masks fall down, you have to put the oxygen mask on first. And they don't say this, but the reason is, if you're passed out, you can't help the people around you. And so self-care is the oxygen mask.
Yes, I agree.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and take you off the screen and bring Genora on. So let me do two things at once. There we go. I'm switching. Okay. Bye, Danielle. We'll see you in a few. All right. Genora, welcome to the Connection Corner.
Hi. It still has NOU Clinical Services down below.
You know what? I think I had it backwards the whole time. I'm so sorry to both of you. There we go. I'm so sorry, Danielle. Put it up again. All right. Well, take it away, Genora.
Hi. So my name is Genora Ledbetter, and I am the founder and president of the Self-Care Network, LLC. And so I created this business because I had the vision and drive to improve businesses and organizations that were focused on developing their leadership and diversity skills. And so I have a master's in child advocacy and policy and a bachelor's in psychology. And I'm also certified as a chief diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. And so I have 13 years of experience working with businesses and organizations to help them minimize the liability of discrimination in the workplace by helping them learn and grow to their fullest potential, by recognizing those representation gaps in their workforce, and by helping them identify their fragmented leadership. And so through experiential coaching and training models, I like to facilitate individual awareness and skill development necessary for effective leadership in today's diverse world. And my passion really is just replacing image-based policies with real frameworks to design new systems that are rooted in equity by building a framework for organizations to create inclusive spaces for their BIPOC community employees. And so in working with leaders and in working with organizations and businesses, I authentically share my personal challenges that I've gone through navigating the corporate world as a woman of color and helping them understand how to incorporate that into their authentic leadership styles.
Wonderful. Here I am. So there was a couple phrases you used that I want to explore. You said something about, I think you said fractured leadership. Was that a phrase that you used?
I did use that, yes.
What does that mean?
So when we're looking at fragmented leadership, a lot of times you can find that in organizations, leaders don't know how to lead. A lot of times they come into these positions either because of someone that they've known or they've had experience working in other organizations. And so you're just looking at your resume and they're saying, oh, okay, well, they have experience doing this. Let's bring them in. And they're really great at doing the day-to-day tasks. But when it comes to that one-to-one connection with employees, they don't know what to do, especially when it's centered around microaggressions and implicit biases.
Mm-hmm,
and a lot of times when employees come, especially BIPOC employees, come to their leaders and they're saying, I feel that such and such is being microaggressive towards me, or I feel that there's implicit biases in their decision to move me to this team, or in the leadership plans that they have for me. Leaders don't know how to deal with it and they kind of freeze up. And so what I do is I do executive coaching and I work with leaders in these organizations to teach them how to manage that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. There was another term that you used and it was image-based policy, something like that. Tell me more about that.
So usually, a lot of organizations in the past, they had an image that they wanted to portray. And as we started before in the past, what happened was there would be a lot of cultural sensitivity trainings having to do with the client, but organizations never really focused on cultural sensitivity training with the employees. And so at the height of 2020, that began to change when everyone was staying home and everything was slowing down, and we were seeing the social unrest and injustice of everything that happened with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. Organizations said, wait a minute, we kind of have to take this and also look at what's going on internally, not just image based on what we're doing just for our clients, but what we're doing for the well-being of our employees.
I see. Okay. Really, really helpful. I think the question I always ask people that I know that are engaged in diversity, equity, and inclusion work, because it's such incredibly important work, but also so draining. How do you take care of yourself? How do you manage your emotions and your energy? Because it's such difficult work.
It is. One thing about me is I'm a tough cookie, so nothing shocks me. And I love to have those conversations. I love to hear people questioning, why is this work important? Or I have this bias and I don't want to let go of this bias because it served me well. I love to have those conversations because a lot of times people's biases, why they have the microaggressions that they have, it's all rooted in fear. And when you can have a conversation with someone and get to that root cause, you can start planting little seeds inside of their mind where they start being able to see the situation differently.
Wonderful. I love it. I love it. So do you feel like you said, you're a tough cookie, like just your nature is such that you don't have to do any more self-care than a regular person does based on your field of expertise?
No, definitely not. I am always getting training on what I'm doing. I practice a lot of self-care within myself. Also,
Okay.
I like to wake up in the morning, do meditation, yoga, and kind of set
Awesome.
positive intentions for the day. I
Okay.
also like to do weekly educational sessions for myself because I feel like we can always learn more. Just
Mhm.
because you're an
Mhm.
expert
Mhm.
in your field does not mean that you can't learn more.
Right.
So I'm always striving to also make sure that I am taking care of myself as well as taking care of my clients.
I'm so glad. And with that, I'm going to bring, because we're talking Danielle's language, I'm going to bring her on, and I'm going to be fair to her and take off your banner and put Danielle's banner on. I'm so sorry, Danielle. I just,
No, I think mine was up there. I think you were fine.
It was. Yes,
Oh,
yours was up there.
all right. Okay. I'm sorry. All right. So I bet you were loving what we were just saying there, huh, Danielle?
I was all about it.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is shift the conversation to the Knownpreneurs Growth Lab. So this is a BIPOC business accelerator program. It's a 16-week program for those of you who don't know. And I think was this the last week? Well, next week is graduation, right? Yeah, today was the last session. Okay, great. And it was all about corporate wellness too, wasn't it? That's great. It was Tamar, yeah, former Knownpreneur herself. So I guess what I'd like to hear from each of you is what has been the biggest takeaway for you from being in the program? What has been the thing that's impacted you the most? And whoever wants to go first and go ahead.
Okay. For me, it was definitely learning to pivot my business and to go in a different direction was very important, as well as learning to change my revenue style so that there would be more income coming in even on those weeks. Because, in therapy, when you're a therapist, there are weeks where clients may not show, things pop up. So you may not have, even though you have a set schedule, things pop up. And of course, it's a fee for service business. So just learning to have those other sources of income coming in to, sustain, I guess, for those weeks where clients may not be coming in as much as possible, and really learning to just pivot and to do something different to funnel in new clientele and new clients and coaching clients and that kind of thing.
Wonderful. How about you, Jenora?
For me, it's been about building the connections. It's been amazing to be with everyone and to see all the different businesses that are a part of the cohort. And just being able to hear them talk about their vision and their mission and what drove them to become entrepreneurs. And so, also as well, each week we have a different presenter come and they talk about different topics. Like today was corporate mental health wellness, which was a great session. We've also had people come in from banking to talk about grants and funding. We've had people come in from accounting services to talk about, doing bookkeeping and how to bring people on. And so it's just been a wealth of information, and it's just been a wealth of many different connections within the community.
Wonderful. I love to, I'm the connector, so I love to hear that. And actually, next week when this cohort graduates, we will now have 35 Knownpreneurs who have graduated. Our first two cohorts, there was 11 in each of those. So this is, we've got this network of folks. So I think the next question I'd like to talk about is the Knownpreneurs program was developed by and for BIPOC entrepreneurs. And so all the folks that are participating in the program, the majority of the presenters and mentors are BIPOC individuals. And I'd like to hear about what has that been like for you to be in a program by and for BIPOC folks.
I'm going to second what Genora said about the connections. And I think that's very important to be in a space where you're heard and you're validated and you're understood. That's a very big thing for me personally, as well as business wise. And so being able to be in this cohort and to have all these individuals come into a space and say, I'm here to help you. And this is what you need to do to grow your business. And this is how you can go about that. And here's these connections that you can use for the rest of your life, basically, I think was very, very helpful to, like, again, to be able to be in a room with people that look like you, that understand. And again, like Jenora said, the businesses, I had no idea, prior to coming into the cohort, how many small BIPOC businesses there are. And every one of us in our cohort does something different that's very impactful to the community. And so being able to learn about their businesses and network, I've made some great connections. I've collaborated with some great individuals. And so for me, anyone who's looking to grow their business and get connections and be in a space where they actually can be heard, questions are answered, it's not, I'll get back to you, like, I send one an email and 2 minutes later he's replying. So your questions are being answered. There's always someone there to help you. My mentor has been absolutely amazing. So for me, I think that's been like the biggest takeaway from being in the program. I think that was your question.
I keep muting and unmuting. I'm sorry. It was like being in a BIPOC program, and I think you absolutely addressed that. How about for you, Genora? How has it been to be in a BIPOC program?
Yeah, the same for me. My focus is always creating safe spaces for the BIPOC community, and so that embodies a safe space for us, by us, just being able to share our struggles that we've had to go through with our businesses as being minorities. It's just been really great to be able to connect with everyone, and it's felt very empowering. And it's also great each week to have the presenters who are also BIPOC talking about their businesses, so that we can give them more business as well, and knowing that they're out there.
Yeah, that's the idea, is to create a gigantic network, not just of the KNOWNpreneurs, but of the mentors and the presenters and all that sort of thing, so that more people of color are doing business with more people of color. That's wonderful. So one of the things, neither one of you said this word, but one of the women last week talked about feeling safe. That was the word she used. And it sounds like that's sort of what you're alluding to, is you feel safe in this environment. And, that really meant the world to me to hear that. I think the other question I wanted to ask you about is, in thinking about who should apply to future cohorts of KNOWNpreneurs, what kinds of folks do you think would really benefit from being in this program? And whoever wants to answer first can go ahead.
I would say any small business in the BIPOC community who is looking to learn, to network, to grow, to learn themselves and get some insight about themselves, because I think the program is very insightful. As a business owner, it really brings something out of you, so that you know what way you need to go, because sometimes you're just kind of stuck and you don't know what to do. So anyone who feels like they need someone to help kind of push them along, teach them some things that they don't know, or reinforce the things that you do know, because a lot of times we know it, but we're not really using what we know and reaching out to the resources that are there. So I would say anyone who's looking to grow, scale, who wants to learn, who's open, honest, able to be vulnerable, would be a great program for them.
Wonderful. How about you, Jenora?
I would say anyone that is a startup entrepreneur. I think that's really important for them, because they're going to gain so much knowledge and so much information coming into that cohort. There's so many sessions that's just teaching them about marketing and narrowing down their KPIs, which is really important to know when you're starting out, or someone who wants to take that jump into being an entrepreneur, but is still working that 9 to 5, but is on the fence, who's thinking that they want to go off on their own. I think this would be a great learning tool for them to kind of push them over and get them to kind of say, all right, let me start my own business, and let me put my skills out there for the world to appreciate.
Wonderful. So that being said, I do want to say KNOWNpreneurs is actually for people who are established businesses that have made some traction and are ready to grow. So it's not for people just starting out that have an idea. So definitely if you have a business and you're working full time, it could still be for you, but you don't have to be like 100% supporting yourself, but you have to have, usually we ask for people to have shown somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 in revenue by the time they apply to the program. And then you also said KPI, which I want to define in case people don't. So those are key performance indicators. So these are goals that the KNOWNpreneurs set, that they set for themselves while they're in the program, and then we help them achieve them. So that's what she was talking about. All right, so before we go, I want to give each of you the opportunity to add anything else that you might have realized, oh, I wanted to say this and I didn't get opportunity. Is there anything else that you would like to leave us with?
I would just say that it's been a really great program. And again, it's really helped me be more insightful about my business and the connections that you make, like known, just getting out there and being known is very important, because you never know what's going to happen when you step into a room. And then sometimes it just takes one connection for things to grow and to kind of blow up for you, so being able to come out of your comfort zone and just step into the room, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
And I want to promote the known co-working space. I think that's really important to highlight, because a lot of times businesses starting out sometimes don't have a place to work, or they're working at home, but they have their children and families, pets, animals kind of distract them for the day. And so one of the great things about being a part of this cohort is that they get to utilize the known co-working space, and they have that place to go. It's like their own little office where they can just go in. They don't have to worry about the kids screaming in the background, walking the dog, fixing food. They have a chance to just focus directly on their business and do what they need to do.
Yeah, love it. Thank you. I did not pay her to say that, folks. All right. Well, thank you both so much. If you wouldn't mind sticking around, I'm going to take you off screen. If you wouldn't mind sticking around the studio for a moment, I'm just going to close things out. But thank you again to both of you. All righty. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And even if you're watching the recording, go ahead and leave comments and we'll pass them on to these two ladies if that makes sense for us to do that. And please join us again on the 31st, which is a Tuesday at 12:30. We'll be having two more of the KNOWNpreneurs, Crystal Harris and Latrell Coward, who are going to be talking about their businesses. All right, folks, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.